I wanted to go over how to make a basic rib brimmed hat using the new X Loom with 4 wedges so that you have a nice smooth crown. And I'm going to give you the basic formula of how to figure out what amount of pegs and everything, and I'm calculating this all off of worsted yarn. And so I'm going to make an adult size hat since most people are going to be making it for themselves, but you can also do this in a toddler sizing or a baby sizing, in which I've kind of done a general overview. So I'll give you the calculations that I did for the toddler hat and the calculations I did for the adult. So what you want to do is you want to know what your stitches per inch are, and if you want to do a swatching. And my suggestion is you base it off of the widest stretched stitch count, and the reason being is when you measure your head circumference, you're doing it on the widest part of the head, and when you put on a hat, it goes on at an angle, so it's not really actually having to fit on the widest part of the head. And if you do it on the stretched calculation, it actually works up every time. I've not noticed it not working up every time. So for me, with a 3/8 inch gauge and a worsted yarn, I get 4 stitches per inch. Then my head circumference is 21.75. Now, if you're wanting to do the toddler sizing, you'll have the option of 19.5 or 18.5 for a toddler sizing, and it fits on a 24-month-old and a 5-year-old. So in this sizing, you can actually get a pretty heavy range of what will fit. You may want to try the 72, but what you want to do is you want to stick in divisibilities of 4 as best you can, because you're going to be decreasing by 4, as you can see on the loom. Alright, so what you want to do is, if you're doing the 80 peg, you want to divide that by 2 and you get 40. Okay, and what that means is you're going to do 40 rows of stockinette after you do your rib stitch. Now 40 divided by 5 is 8. Round up to 10. You're going to do 10 rows of rib stitch for your base, then 40 rows of stockinette, and then you will do the process of knit a row, then you'll do a decrease row, and I'll explain what that is. Okay, and you do that until you get down to 24. No matter what size, you're getting down to the smallest amount of pegs on this loom. Okay, so, and if you want a fold-up brim, you double your rib stitch rows. Okay, and now if you're going to do the adult size, which I am, I'm going to do the 88 peg, and my head circumference was 21.75, and of course with 4 stitches per inch, that's 87. You round up to 88, and I've already preset the loom to 88. I'm going to end up doing 44 rows of stockinette and 10, let's see, I would do 10 rows of rib stitch, but I'm going to do 20 because I want the brim to fold up. Okay, so these are your options. On either one, you can do 10 to 15 on the toddler size. I would suggest 10 if you don't want a fold-up brim. Double it if you want a fold-up brim. I'm going to do a fold-up brim, so I'm going to do 20 rows of a rib stitch on here. Okay, so that gives you a basic calculation, and it shows up in the PDF that way. Now, what we want to do is we'll get us started. So what you want to do is you want to do an E-wrap cast on, which is not difficult, and I'll explain how to set it up. You can either do a double wrap cast on, or you can do a E-wrap cast on. Okay, so your anchor peg is actually going to be in the middle, and here's what you want to do. If you want to do the double wrap, wrap it, so you wrap it and then toss it. Okay, you can do that option, or you can just E-wrap all the way around. But the more pegs there are, the easier it's just going to be to double wrap it and toss. Double wrap, toss, double wrap, toss. And you're going to look at this more like it's a round loom, even though you're working on an egg. So you're going to work all the way around here, through here, through here, through here, through here, and back. And that counts as your cast on. Okay? So go ahead and cast yourself all 88 pegs, or 80, depending, and we can work ourselves from there. Okay, we've done our cast on, and you can see the method in which we started working. Alright, and now we're ready to start our first 20 rows, which is going to be a rib stitch. And because we're basing this off of 4, you know that you can do a 2x2 rib stitch. If you would like, you can do a 4x4 if you want a wider set rib stitch. You can do where you knit 4, purl 4. It's entirely up to you. But I would suggest doing a knit 2, purl 2. And if you want it to be knits on the wedges rather than purls to make it a little easier on you, your first stitch, your first 2 stitches, you should start off with 2 purls. Purl, purl. If you want your wedges to be knit. Okay. So, knit, knit, purl, purl, and you just go the same direction that you went to do your cast on. Knit, knit, purl, purl, and then you have your knit, knit, which makes it a little easier if you have knits on your wedges. At some point I will show how to do an entire rib stitch hat where your ribbing goes into a nice beautiful knit in your decrease, so it kind of bleeds into those wedge decreases. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video and get your 20 rows done of rib stitch. Okay, and we will progress on from there. Okay, so pause the video, get your rib stitching done for 20 rows, and I'll come back and show you the stockinette stitch, and then we'll get to the interesting part, which is the decreasing, which makes it all worth the while. Okay, so pause the video, get that much done, and we'll go from there. Now, yes, it looks like I've mostly finished the hat. It's okay. Here's your 20 rows of rib stitch, as you can see. And after this, you want to do just straight up stockinette stitch. Okay, and you want to do 44 rows. And so I will show you that, and then we'll be moving to the more complicated part of the pattern. Okay, so now you just want to go in and just knit everything round and round for a total of 44 rows, and then we will be moving on to decreasing the crown, and I'll tell you how that works. Alright. So, you're going to go around and around for 44 rows. So pause the video, get your 44 rows done, and then we'll be ready to do the crown area, which is the more difficult part. It's really not that difficult, but it requires more steps than just the base of casting on rib stitch 44 rows. So go ahead, pause the video, get your 44 rows done in stockinette. We'll come back and I'll show you how to start doing the crown. Okay, we've done our 44 rows, and now we are ready to decrease and start decreasing from our 88 pegs to 24 pegs. And here's how it works no matter what size hat you're doing. It doesn't matter what size. You're going to decrease, and what that means is you're going to unscrew the washer, as you can see, just enough to push it in to the next slot. You see how it's in one to the next aligning pegs, and you tighten your washer back up. Move it in, tighten your washer up. Move it in, tighten your washer up. And move it in and tighten your washer up. And you shouldn't have to unscrew it very much at all. Now here is the next thing you do, and you do it all the way around. Now you can do it here, but then you don't have a beautiful line that shows up. So personally, I would say put these stitches, decrease them to the actual wedge, see, which is what I explained. So you decrease your stitches to the wedge pegs, okay, just like this. And to solidify that, I usually yank on the thing a little bit to push that down. And you're going to go in, you're going to do this all the way around. And this makes it easy to wear. All you have to do is knit, and then you knit those two over on the wedges. Okay. And you do this with every single, no matter what size hat you're doing, you do this process. Alright. Okay, so we've decreased them all, and it looks normal again. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and we want to knit around, which is, this is our decrease row, okay, and then we're going to knit around a regular row. Now it will increase the length of the hat if you choose to do 2 knit rows and 1 decrease row. It will extend the hat, but you'll want to, the closer you get to the crown, the closer you'll want your decreases to be. So you can do decrease a row and knit 2 rows for like half of it, and then do the other half where you, and then you're going to knit both those over. Oops. Okay. But there's a lot more options on how you can decrease this section, but I find that you do this knit, you decrease a row and knit a row, you do really well with it. It does fine. And let's say you wanted to make like an elf hat or something, you would do probably like decrease and then knit 5 rows, decrease and knit 5 rows, and that will actually give you a nice point. So depending on how you do the rows and decreasing, you can get a different look and effect on a hat. And knit both those over. Okay, we've made our first round, and I'm going to push all my stitches down, and then I'm going to do a round of knit, okay, where I just go around and do a complete round of knit. And I'll show you the decrease again one more time, and then I'll tell you to go in and keep repeating these steps where you decrease a row and then you knit a row. Alright, so I'm going to show you the one full complete step, and then I'm going to show you how to decrease one more time so that you're good to go. Okay, so now we are ready to decrease again. So we've done our first set of decrease a row and knit a row, which is our repeat. And I'm going to show you how to go in and decrease one more time. Release the washer enough, tighten the washer to the next section. Release, tighten, release, tighten, release, and tighten. Take your stitches, decrease them to the wedge pegs, and you can pull on it to make sure that solidifies that. And decrease, and decrease, and decrease. Okay. And now you've decreased. Now you're going to knit your way around and getting those decreased areas, and then you're going to knit away around again, and you can continue this down to 24 pegs. So go ahead, pause the video, get your decreasing down, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to finish up the hat. But again, this is I think y'all are going to really like how this goes in and decreases down to a nice point. Let's go ahead and pause the video, get that much done. We'll come back. I'll show you how to finish up the last 24 to drawstring it off, and then we're almost done. Okay, I have worked down to 24 pegs, and you may find that it gets a little, the wedges tend to want to probably move a little bit more when you get down to 24, but you're never here for that long. So what we want to do is I want to do what I call a prep decrease before I actually draw string off, and what that means is you go in and you knit pegs 1 and 2, move that second stitch back to peg 1, toss the bottom loop over, and then move that stitch over 1. Then you move to the next 2 pegs. Move that back 1, toss the bottom loop over, move it over 1. This will get you down from 24 pegs to 12 pegs. Okay, now we want to go in and draw string off, and you should have 12 stitches left. Go ahead and cut you a tail. And what I like to do is knit it over, knit it over, pull the tail through, knit over, pull the tail through, knit over, pull the tail through, knit over, and do this all the way around. Here's your last one. Toss over, pull through. And there is your smooth top. And you'll send that through and tie it off. And that is how you make a rib brim hat on the X Loom with a smooth crown. And you're done.